When you think of Britain, what comes to mind? Perhaps a polite sorry, a cup of tea, or a touch of dry humor. But sometimes the best way to understand a culture is through the story a nation tells about itself. And in today's episode, we're diving into 6 fictional British characters who shaped how the world sees Britain and perhaps how Britain sees itself. Welcome to the English Right Now podcast, an English learning podcast in which we teach you at least 10 pieces of vocabulary related to the subject. I say at least 10 because it's a real conversation with my dear friend Rob, and anything can happen. Hello, Rob.
All right, there, Roy. How you doing? Apples and pears.
Oh,
Bit of Cockney English for you there. You all right?
Oh, you're choking me. You've gone all Cockney. You've gone all like down the market. I was quite impressed by that. Yeah, I'm all right.
Good.
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you very much. Yes, an exciting topic we're talking about today.
Yes. So, when you think of an iconic British character, obviously, other than yourself, who we're talking about fictional, not real life heroes like Rob. We're talking about fictional. Who would you say is probably one of the most inspirational in your mind, or probably the most famous?
There are lots, but I think if you think of a British gentleman, I would think James Bond,
Ooh.
007. Yeah, a real Englishman. Very well spoken, of course. That's one thing about some of these characters, and smartly dressed, but still has morals and polite as well. That kind of thing.
To a certain extent, I think because there's been different versions of Bond. Different actors have played Bond. Of course, he started with Sean Connery, and then he kind of moved on to who's that? Roger Moore came later. There was George Lazenby. Lots of different actors: Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig. I'm sure I've missed some. I've missed some.
Daniel Craig was the latest one, and we don't know
Yes.
who's going to play the next Bond in the next Bond movie. That's all still a bit of a mystery at the moment.
Yeah, and it's always a big kind of, it's almost an event, isn't it? With people predicting who's going to be the new Bond, who they want to be the new Bond. Do you have any preferences?
You, Roy, would you like to be James Bond?
I turned it down. I think I'll go for the villain. I don't know. I'd like to be the kind of quirky sidekick. I'd like to be Q. I think that would be my more character. I don't think I'm suave enough. Suave is one of our key pieces of vocabulary. So suave is charming, confident, and elegant. It's often used to describe men. So James Bond is known for being quite suave, no matter how dangerous the situation is. I think the thing about James Bond, he is charming, he's courageous, and he's got this kind of composure under pressure.
Yes. He keeps calm under pressure. That's right. Keeps calm and carries on, doesn't he?
And yes, the classic phrase, and it kind of embodies that British culture of never losing your composure, or what we would like to think is British culture. This idea of stiff upper lip. The stiff upper lip idea. It's a slightly older sort of expression. It's a traditional British phrase meaning to remain calm and not show emotion in difficult situations. So Bond always maintains or keeps this stiff upper lip, even in the face of danger. But Bond isn't without his controversies, is he? a bit of a ladies' man.
Bit of a ladies' man. I'm not going to say that's a typically British thing. But that was the character. That has changed over time. I think they've kind of slightly adjusted his character in more recent films to make it slightly more what's the word?
Acceptable with modern sensibilities, I think, is the best way.
Yeah.
So maybe in the past, when Ian Fleming wrote the character of James Bond, this idea of being, I mean, we say ladies' man as in somebody who's very successful with the women, but we could also say womanizer, which is a bit of a more negative phrase. I mean, it wasn't his main character point. It was this stiff upper lip, composure, bravery, and elegance under pressure. But there was this sort of side thing that in every film there'd be at least one woman that he seduced, and she wouldn't reappear. And the girls were called the Bond girls, and there's been a lot like Jane Seymour and all the other ones that I've just forgotten their names.
Halle Berry. She was one of them. Yeah.
I'm going back a bit as well. Bridget Bardot was one.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Was she?
possibly,
Potentially. But it was usually
allegedly.
quite allegedly. It was quite commonly one, a sort of a female at the time that was very, like, prolific in terms of, usually a model
Mm,
or some kind of very successful actress.
yeah,
And,
but they would fall for his charm, though, wouldn't they? Would fall for
yes.
this character of being, obviously very handsome, very
Yeah.
brave, but also very calm. Doesn't get emotional.
I get a feeling that, James Bond was the sort of, not only was he like a kind of very representative of this, what we should be, this composure, the bravery thing, but also kind of what most people dreamt of being. He was like, James Bond was the man that every man wanted to be and every woman wanted to be with.
Mm,
So I think that's it. But these days, it's not seen as quite as positive to move from woman to woman, as
no.
it may have been during the thing. I mean, he was always quite sophisticated and charming with them, but these days maybe that doesn't work as well.
Mm,
So that's why I think there's a cultural shift in terms of who's going to play the next Bond. So it's like, should it be a woman? Should it
mm,
not? Should it be? There's lots of different questions. Or should we actually just create a new character? But for a long time, James Bond was very, very um, representative of what British people want to be. Did you know that potentially there's a rumor Christopher Lee inspired the character of James Bond?
really?
Yeah. So Christopher Lee, famous actor, he played uh, Saruman in Lord of the Rings. He played uh, Count Dooku in Star Wars. But before that, he was in during World War II. He was a sort of an undercover operative, and
Right.
they knew each other. Uh, there's no confirmation, but there's
No.
this kind of rumor that he was the inspiration.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, anyway, he's been going for a long time, this character James Bond, hasn't he?
Yes.
And as I say, if you think of a British, I wouldn't say a perfect British man, but a sort of iconic British man, that would be a James Bond. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's loved across the world, isn't he? The films are so popular, the stories have always been popular, and everything about him is British. I think he
Yeah.
wouldn't work in America or anywhere else. I don't think.
No. No. Although the Americans did have Jason Bourne as their kind of one, which was a slightly different character. Much more. There was much more kind of brutal edge to Jason Bourne in the films, which was played by Matt Damon, and I think
Yes.
that's what inspired James Bond to become a bit more aggressive when Daniel Craig played him as well. I think it's interesting that kind of influenced that. But I'd really like to see Henry Cavill play Bond. He'd be my choice. Henry, if you're listening, I've got your back. But yeah, I think it's, and I think probably over time they will remove that more kind of womanizing element and potentially
Mm,
put him in a kind of more, I mean, James Bond with George Lazenby, he did get married, didn't he?
mm.
Bond got married once, but then sadly she died at the end.
That's
But yeah, so he did show this kind of monogamous side to his character. But let's move on to another kind of British character because we focused a lot on Bond. Who else do you think? What about Sherlock?
ah Sherlock Holmes. Yes, another iconic British man from a different
Yes,
generation, really. Again, before Bond. What period
yes,
was he written about? So was it
Victorian, wasn't it? Late
Victorian
19th
times?
century.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But still,
and
still the sort of the iconic British detective, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah, I feel that he represented a British value of kind of intelligence over emotion, like logic over emotion, quiet confidence, and doing your moral duty.
Hmm.
Sort of keep calm, carry on, stiff upper lip. But your moral duty and your moral commitment to justice was the most important thing in terms of Sherlock.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but a lot of students, sadly, every now and then, I have a student that believed that Sherlock was real, and I kind of have to tell them that no, he's fictional, and I kind of break people's hearts. I feel guilty every time.
Hmm.
But it's this representative of this British admiration for intellect and rational thinking. Although he was a little bit, he was a little bit different as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, there was a slight awkward side when it came to
Yeah.
socializing and talking to people. But maybe because he was thinking very deeply about solving a case, that his mind was so busy working that he didn't have the skills to socialize.
There's some theories out there that basically Sir Arthur Conan Doyle included a kind of neurodiverse element to him, like
Hmm.
potentially a bit of autism or ADHD. You know, the character itself was there because he's quite
Yeah.
by compared with the characters around him, he's quite eccentric. He's a
Hmm.
little bit unusual. He's a little bit so eccentric is one of our key pieces of vocabulary. Um, Unusual, quirky, unconventional, but often in an endearing way. And you know, he's brilliant, but socially awkward and a little bit
Yeah.
unpredictable. So
Yeah.
he's an eccentric character, but he's known for this reaching a logical conclusion based on evidence, which is known as deduction. His ability of deduction, another key piece of vocabulary. So he's really known for just being incredibly intelligent, but also a little bit awkward.
Hmm. Yes. The
Which
other
is
thing is,
probably
the other characteristics, of course, he was portrayed as being very well dressed and well spoken.
yeah.
Again, maybe a bit old fashioned now, but how you'd expect a British person to be, always, well dressed,
Yeah.
speaks the kind of Queen's English, and as you say, intellect. There's this association with British people being clever for some reason.
I think again, this is one of these things that I think British people desire to be. We desire to be the suave, sophisticated James Bond character. We would like to be known for our intelligence, not necessarily that we are intelligent, but that's the kind of image we've put out there through our fictional characters.
Mm.
You know, especially in that kind of era, the World War, and up until maybe the 1960s, 70s, we were peddling this image
Mm.
of the sophisticated British gentleman
And,
and
and
things like
and
this.
being well educated, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
James Bond supposedly in the story, he went obviously to like a public school, was well educated. I imagine Sherlock Holmes is the same. He went to a very good school, was well educated. No doubt went to a very good university to get his education.
yeah. And again, he had this stiff upper lip quality that
Mm.
was very, very. I would say it changed in the 1970s or 60s, 70s. This idea of the stiff upper lip gentleman, but before that, that was very, very kind of um, common to have this awkward, socially awkward yet reserved quality. I think something that Hugh Grant, who is not a fictional character, Hugh Grant. Let's get that out there. Hugh Grant, the actor, has portrayed so well this socially awkward, like this kind of kind of character, this
Mm.
bumbling
Humbling, yeah,
character.
good word.
Yes, and that was sort of synonymous with this socially awkward side as well. That it was an element of composure.
Mm.
So yeah,
We do socially awkward quite well in Britain in terms of our fictional characters. I think Mr. Bean, of course, is a classic
oh,
sort of awkward character.
yeah.
We have other people you may not have heard of, like John Cleese, who played Basil Fawlty in that
Yes,
sitcom. He was
which
slightly
which are
awkward.
a few
Yeah.
other characters that we weren't going to mention. We're doing 6 today, and we're going to ask. But Basil Fawlty is a brilliant character, and Mr. Bean absolutely. And in fact, if anybody out there that's listening to this has suggestions for part 2 of
Mm.
famous, iconic British fictional characters, let us know. We can do everything from Mr. Bean. Although I don't really think that Mr. Bean represents me too much. I hope not. Uh, I hope I'm more Blackadder than Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
Rowan Atkinson, brilliant actor. But yeah, so if you've got any suggestions of characters you think that you instantly think of when you think of Britain, let us know in the comments. We can talk about. We can do part 10 of this, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, so Sherlock and James Bond are two men. We've talked about
Mm.
men. Let's move on to the feminine side, and let's talk about
Yes.
Mary Poppins.
Yes. Mary
Mary
Poppins. Mary Poppins. So yeah, a very English, again, well-spoken English woman. She's been Disney-fied over the years, isn't she?
Yes.
Disney has made the Mary Poppins films, but originally it was a classic film. Is that right? The character?
I'm not sure where this comes from. I only know the Disney version. I know that my godmother absolutely adores. Was it Julie Andrews who played Mary Poppins in the
Yes, I
film?
think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
originally.
absolutely loved her. And we would watch it every Christmas. It was a traditional Christmas film. I'm not sure where the character comes from. I only know her from the elements of Disney. But of course, she's the kind of perfect nanny, isn't she? That looks after these children. But she's like if we go back to fairy tales, she's like the fairy godmother. This
Yes, yes.
incredible, almost discipline with a dash of magic. She was
Mm.
magic, and she had magic. She could do magic, but she was also very disciplined. So she was very, we would say prim and proper. That's a good little idiom. Prim and proper is very polite, formal, and concerned with behaving correctly. So Mary Poppins is the perfect example of somebody who's prim and proper, but still full of magic. Did you watch this as a kid, or?
I did, and of course it starred. So Mary Poppins was your kind of real kind of English housemaid nanny sort of thing, and then there was Dick Van Dyke who played the chimney sweep, didn't he? Bert, that was his name.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he wasn't actually in real life. Dick Van Dyke wasn't British, was he?
No, he's American, isn't he?
But he put on this gall blimey Cockney English accent,
which was like you at the start. To be honest, I think put you two in a room and I wouldn't know which one was worse. But like I mean, his accent of a Cockney in the film was a little bit exaggerated when "Gall blimey, Mary Poppins." It was a bit exaggerated, but again, a wonderfully charming character, charming film, and it was this idea of kind of almost fighting against the stiff upper lip quality. She does inhabit that kind of keep calm and carry on, discipline and imagination. I think that's where British people love her. She's got the fine line between discipline, do one's duty, but also dream, have imagination, enjoy the free time.
Yes.
But she kind of educates people not to be too serious all the time, even adults in the film.
Yes, no, she makes things fun, but she keeps everything people in control and in order. Again, without shouting and running around and screaming and stuff like that. It's that calmness, isn't it? Very simple, you know.
With a spoonful of sugar.
With a spoonful of sugar, yes.
Anybody that doesn't get this reference will just be like, "What the hell are they talking about?" But
I think I was going to say, if somebody comes to London now expecting to find a kind of Mary Poppins character, I think they'll be a bit disappointed actually, because I don't think there are many people out there like Mary Poppins.
No. I don't think there's many Sherlocks or James Bonds either, to be honest.
No.
I often say this. I think we're very good at showing the world what we'd like to be, I think, or what life was like. And I think we look back with this kind of rose-tinted glasses approach to maybe Victorian era to an extent. I mean, of course, there was a lot of poverty and a lot of negatives, but the higher echelons of society, they're kind of idealized, I think, somewhat. That Victorian sensibilities, and we're far removed from it now, but I think a lot of people do kind of look back and think, wow, what a time. And obviously I think Mary Poppins is set a bit later than Victor. I'm not sure actually. But it's for me, Mary Poppins is politeness, order, but the British value of being able to find joy in the everyday, even if it means you have to maintain your way. And we have to say as well, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is not a real word.
Sadly not. Can you spell it?
No. IT. It.
Very good.
That's it. Spell it. That's an old joke, isn't it? But a lot of students ask me.
One thing about Mary Poppins and probably James Bond, they do have a sense of humor, a dry sense of humor. And don't mean they tell jokes, do they? But they can have a little bit of sarcasm, little wink.
Very witty.
Yes, witty. Yes, good word. Yeah.
Clever, intelligent humor. That, as you say, is quite dry. Which again is a demonstration of intelligence. I think also Sherlock would be quite witty at times as well, potentially, although slightly more awkward than the other two.
Yes.
And I do think it's fascinating that we idolize these characters that are sophisticated, calm under pressure. Maybe that's because that's what we want to be, but that's not what we are.
Well, let's talk about another female character, more modern day female character, who's probably almost the opposite of Mary Poppins, because she actually shows her true colours and shows her weaknesses and her vulnerability. And I'm thinking here of Bridget Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, which is an interesting. So yeah, tell me about Bridget Jones. What does
Well, as
Bridget
I
Jones represent for you?
say, so she's a character from a book written in more recent times. What are we talking about? 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. Bridget Jones's
Yeah,
Diary, and then it was
yeah,
made into a film. It's been made into a series of films now.
yeah,
And she was a woman who was down on her luck, couldn't find a boyfriend, wanted to get married. She lived in a sort of flat, again in London. All these characters seem to live in London, don't they?
yeah.
And it's about her day-to-day life of going to work, trying to meet a boyfriend, getting drunk, all these kind of things, and not having much luck. And yeah, to say it shows her vulnerabilities. You know, this time she's not a sort of superwoman, perfectly
No.
dressed, brave, and that kind of stuff. She's just like, I've got to be careful what I say here, but like your everyday kind of woman, just going through life.
Yeah, 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 yeah. She's not a kind of exaggerated character. It's more. There's more of an authenticity to her character, and I think there's a joy in her because it's this that in terms of what she represents this British love of self-deprecating humor, the
Mm.
ability to find grace in imperfection and laugh at your own kind of mistakes and awkward moments. And she's modern, relatable, and quite utterly human. The actress who played her was Renée Zellweger, isn't it? I think was
Mm.
yeah,
Interestingly,
and she's American, but
an American,
yeah.
but she put on a British accent, didn't she?
I hate to make a competition here, but better than Dick Van Dyke's.
Yeah, she did it very well. To be fair, quite
Yeah,
still didn't need to be, but it was still quite a posh accent. I think maybe Americans think that all British people speak sort of quite well.
yeah. But I think there's a joy in I think that the British value of being able to laugh at oneself, not taking oneself too seriously, is what we get here, and we do have that self-deprecating, which is one of our key pieces of vocabulary, humor that makes fun of oneself in a light-hearted way. So it's like, oh, you know, if I make a joke about my hair looking like I've been electrocuted or something like this, you know, it's kind of a, but it's charming. It's you know, we like this self-deprecating and a kind of sense of you know keeping it being quite modest. You know, the
Yes.
quality of being humble, not bragging. I think that's a really kind of British value as well that I see in another character. But which is Harry Potter. But before we talk about Potter, we need to talk a bit more about Bridget Jones because Bridget Jones. Do you know her love interest? Who's
Oh,
her
well, it was Mr. Darcy, wasn't it?
Mr. Darcy?
Played by Colin Firth in the film, of course. Yeah.
Yes, Mark Darcy, wasn't it? And Mark Darcy is this sort of seen as this kind of ideal, again, a very uh, stiff upper lip, kind of slightly awkward, charming, suave, but also a bit awkward in one's own skin.
Yes, I mean, he can't
Character
express his
again.
feelings. Very reserved. He can't express his feelings, can he? So it's all very awkward. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, he has this kind of element of composure, which is a key piece of vocabulary. It's the ability to stay calm and in control of your emotions. And he doesn't really lose his composure, much like James Bond. And of
Mm.
course, Mr. Darcy in Bridget Jones is a reference to Pride and Prejudice, who is also a Mr. Darcy, which we could have included on one of our characters. And I've always said, you know, Mr. Darcy is seen as this idea of the perfect man, the perfect British gentleman, awkward, yet totally in love, but unable to express one's feelings. And I've often said that Mr. Darcy, the character of Mr. Darcy, has been helping British men meet women for years. Because honestly, when I went to, you know, I've been around the world and I often hear people talking about British men like we are Mr. Darcy. And I often think we may be quite the disappointment.
Yes, definitely. Awkward, maybe.
Yeah.
We might be awkward, but well, no, we don't look like Mr. Darcy, that's for sure. But
Speak for yourself. But yeah, we touched on Harry Potter.
mm,
That's another one. The boy who lived.
mm.
Um, you know, he's also quite a modern character, and but he's not like a James Bond character, is he?
No, not at all. No, he's a schoolboy, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
Art.
yeah, yes, yeah. But I think he's not the typical ready to go hero. He's
No.
brave, he's courageous, he's loyal, but he's also quite modest. And I think there's a British admiration for quiet heroism. The idea
Yeah.
that ordinary people can change the world through loyalty, through friendship, through integrity. And I think that he's very modest, isn't he? His
Oh,
great sense
definitely.
of modesty.
Yeah. As you say, he looks after his friends. He puts his friends first. When he does something amazing, he doesn't go, "Oh, aren't I great? Aren't I incredible?" You know, he doesn't want to take much credit for it. Yeah, so he is very modest, which is a British trait, I think. We don't like to show off or make a big scene, or
No.
it's nothing. Don't worry about it. It's okay. It's okay.
And like we say, so we talk, modesty is one of our key pieces of vocabulary. The quality of being humble, not bragging about achievements. You know, he doesn't seek the attention of being the hero, even though he can't escape it. He's not there for the attention. In fact, I think sometimes you get the impression that Harry Potter would sooner just be a normal boy
Yes.
who hadn't been through all that.
Mm.
And that's a kind of more modern British. I suppose a lot of these characters, though, it's the idea of they are, they're stepping up when they need to.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily kind of wanting to be in that position. They're doing what needs to be done.
Yes. Not for power or for their own glory, as you say. It's just it's there to be done. Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
In
it's
fact,
incredible. Isn't Harry Potter? I mean, yes, probably one of the most famous characters in the world, really. Particularly with a younger generation and an older generation as well. Is it just about his modesty? What else is it that makes him popular, and what makes him British? You know,
I think
particularly.
he's quite down to earth. He's gone to a British. A lot of the things of Hogwarts as well are very representative of British schools. Not all of them. We didn't have a sorting hat, but a lot of these qualities of the stories, the classes and the kind of the houses and things like this. Of course, I wasn't in Gryffindor,
No.
but I you get my son is in Red House. And he does sometimes now say, "Oh, it's like Gryffindor, Dad." And I'm like, "Yeah." Thank goodness he's not in green. But yeah, a lot of it. But I think it's this kind of step. He really kind of, he becomes the hero when he's needed to become the hero. He's honest. He's he's learning. He's inquisitive, but he doesn't also. There's no kind of overly dramatic moment where he's breaking down like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do that." He carries on.
Keeps
Again,
calm.
even
Yes.
though they're all calm. They're all calm. And he's somewhat, he's quite understated. He's quite, he uses quite a lot of understatement. A lot of them do actually. A typically British way of expressing something as less important or dramatic than it really is. James Bond's famous for that.
Yeah.
Doesn't, it's not a big deal. Just somebody's trying to blow up the world. Oh, we'll be all right. We've got
Yeah.
time for a cup of tea and a glass of wine, and a bit of naughtiness with a lady that he's found, rather than solve the crisis of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what would you say for Harry Potter? Because you sort of said more British qualities.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? What makes him British as opposed to any other nationality? I suppose it's the school system, going the school system. The film and the book have a lot of British things as well, going off on a steam train and lots of
Yeah.
British locations as well, which makes him sort of obviously clearly a British character. But I think it is that calmness, politeness as well, of course. Another British trait, isn't it? Being polite. And being humble. I think they're the main things.
Maybe his character of not being an instant hero as well is more relatable to the world, because what child is an instant hero? Some of them just step up at from time to time. So that's what made him more universal. But the joy was setting.
He's like the underdog, isn't he? So he's not the big powerful character, but you want him to do well, even though he's reasonably small and weak. You want him to be the hero.
That's a very good character. Very good word you just used. Underdog, which is the person that we would expect to lose or not win. And you've got Voldemort, who is the big, powerful, bad person. And on paper, he's going to win, but you want Harry Potter to win. Finally, a character that I really wanted to talk about which for me is one of the most British characters, Paddington Bear.
Now, come on. Everyone loves Paddington Bear.
Yes. Do you remember
hold on a minute, Roy. Is he British or is he Peruvian?
Oh!
Because he came from Peru.
Yes, he came from darkest Peru, didn't he? The jungles of Peru. Deep, with a suitcase, a duffel coat, and a jar of marmalade. Is he British? No. Not in terms of where he was born. But I think he represents the best of British decency. So he's still written by a British character, and I think there's a lot more kindness, fairness, acceptance. He's polite to a fault. That's a good expression. Polite to a fault. It's so polite that it can cause problems or misunderstandings. And he's very kind-hearted. Another key piece of vocabulary. Naturally kind, caring, and considerate. He's also got a good sense of humor.
Good manners.
I've just used good manners, good sense of humor. The ability to see the funny side of things, which is a key part of British identity. And he was born in another country, as the story goes. But his gentle misunderstandings of British customs, Paddington kind of reminds us that good manners and a warm heart can make anybody feel at home. He does misunderstand some things.
Yes.
But I would also say he represents something more for me. He represents multiculturalism.
Mm-hmm.
It is the immigration story that he came across, and he learned the cultural values and I think it's somewhat there is this idea of multiculturalism and inclusivity in Paddington. Maybe I'm going too far on that one, but
he integrated with the sort of English life, didn't he? He went to live with the Browns, didn't he? And then got to know all the neighbors and the people in the street and tried to help people as well, to try to really make his mark.
And I think the story, the idea was that being British wasn't about where you're from. It was more about how you treat others. This kind of British identity, this British quality wasn't, it doesn't depend where you're born. And I think in terms of values, politeness, kindness, tolerance, and empathy. I love Paddington. There's even a little statue of him.
Yes, there's a little statue of him in Leicester Square in London.
Is there? I didn't know that one.
And I think there's another one of him at Paddington Station, because, of course, in the story, he was found at Paddington Station, a big station in London, wasn't he? And that's where the Browns found him and took him under their wing.
Mr. Brown found him. I can't remember. Was it the children?
I mean, I grew up on those stories because obviously they started off as storybooks. Then they became short animations. And then, of course, more recently, they've become big films, haven't they, in the cinema?
And they are brilliant.
And
my son loves it.
Yeah, I love them. And, of course, Paddington, the character Paddington, is very well spoken again. He has a very good English accent and speaks politely with please.
Keeps calm, carries on.
Calm, and carries that jar of marmalade, another very British thing, marmalade, which we put on our toast.
I was going to ask you about that. How often do you eat marmalade?
Not often, actually. But
no.
It's quite a nice treat if you're having a big breakfast and you've got lots of toast to get the marmalade out.
If I go away and there is marmalade there, I will eat it, but I would never buy it. And it's interesting because I agree, marmalade is a very British, it's a very British food. Yeah, I don't know many people that own it or eat it.
No.
It's a bit silly, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, those characters are some of the most British characters, but there's many, many more that we could talk about. But yes, they're as British as a cup of tea or a polite biscuit dunking in your tea as well.
Or a jar of marmalade.
But if you want to support this podcast, you can always buy a cup of tea for Rob or myself. There's a link down below. But for me today, I just want to say, you're drinking your cup of tea. I've got my I love you mug today. Yeah,
mine's an aeroplane landing on a beach. There you go.
Very nice. Which beach was that?
That's in the island called Barra in the Outer Hebrides, and it's an airport. Okay. The airport is on the beach, so the plane lands on the sand. Amazing.
It's in Scotland, isn't it? Just for anybody who's listening and doesn't know where the Outer Hebrides are, but they're very, very quite a way away from my island on the Isle of my island. It's mine, apparently.
It's mine.
But I just want to say thank you very much for everybody. Please do let us know which other British iconic characters you can think of. and we can talk a bit more about them and what they represent for British people and British values. But Rob, I just want to say thank you very much for joining me today.
It's been fun. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. See you. Bye.
Bye.